Let's kick Mark out.
Get the freaking producer out of here.
Oh, this is the wrong one.
We're live. Joined by Bach. We've got Ian from Kairos, Tolks from the Telegram, if he wants me to say that.
Tolks is that
page one?
Tolks,
Yeah.
are you still doing page one, or is it kind of cooked?
I need to get back to writing, but it's cooked for now. It's cooked until it's not. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a fine wine. It's just aging.
I know exactly what you mean. Okay. Can somebody give me a rundown of what is happening so I can create an opinion?
Yeah, I'm going to share what I know thanks to Ian sharing what he knew. We have a bit of a chain of sharing what each other knew in the 0x Research Telegram. It seemed like, an hour ago, maybe an hour and a half ago, an address, a Pump.fun fee address was noticed transferring funds and then swapping from Sol to Pump in large quantities. And following those flows, it seems like they've bought basically up to this point like 1.2 billion tokens, or somewhere around like 7 to 8 million USD worth of Pump. So the discretionary buyback has seemingly been initialized. I don't think the Pump team has commented on it yet, though, publicly.
They have not. We're the first Solana affiliated organization to comment on it.
If you go to Bach, pull up my tweet and you can see what Ian shared.
Okay. Oh, that's not the tweet. I need to stop doing this.
I dropped it to you. You can see what Ian shared, and then I just followed off of him.
There you go.
But yeah, one of the AMM protocol fee addresses transferred funds out of its wallet and then started basically just unloading into the Pump token. This is essentially what seems like is happening.
How much have they bought back?
Let me see. There's one address now holding 1 billion tokens, or 6 million USD worth. And then this second address holding another 200 million, or 1.3 mil. So about 7.5 million USD worth.
Yeah. So pretty significant. So I kind of posted about this, but this is very clickbait, but at 6 mil, that's like the past 3 days of Solana REV being sold into Pump. Obviously, that's not how markets work, but it is kind of interesting that, like, I don't really see the point of, if you're betting on meme coin activity instead of just buying pure meme coins. I feel like now there is a pretty clear venue, a pretty clear asset that you can long as the dominant player. So I know, like, historically we've said, like, you can buy launch coin for what Ryan likes to call them net new assets and whatnot. But Pump is like the same as Radium. Like, you could have longed Radium and done really, really well. but Pump is like, I know their dominance has gone down slightly, but it's like, I think pretty obviously I think it's the most obvious way to get exposure to meme coin trends and like the trenches, as people still call them. So I'm surprised. I don't know how the whole Solana thing is going to work out. Thoughts?
Well,
Wait, let's put you over here. There we go. This feels more natural.
Nice to be closer to you, Bach. Yeah, no, I think that's like a really interesting point in general. It's like, to your point, it's not like they're selling it into Sol, but not really, because like, I mean, well, the first, yeah, I guess they are selling into Sol, but it's not like that Sol is then being sold immediately into USD. And so I think like in general, this is what every single app is going to end up doing. Like if you want to have some sort of like real-time value accrual to your token, and you don't want to take the risk of having just like the native asset volatility have like an impact on your revenue or anything like that. Like you're going to want to translate your value accrual into some sort of buyback mechanism of some sort, whether it's just like open market buybacks like these, or if it's some like auction mechanism. But you know, you play that out over a long enough time horizon, and you essentially kind of get like a tragedy of the commons almost, where it's like everyone wants to sell their native token into Sol, and so they're also going to see like kind of what like the real net demand is for like Sol, the asset, or any L1 token for that matter. And then I think like that probably gets positive tailwinds around it with like any like inflation reduction and just people kind of caring more about like emissions and all these other things. But like in general, I think that's how it's going to play out for all of these protocols that are making significant amounts of money. And you're seeing it in real time now with like Pump. I think the interesting thing here though is like this is like definitely not the most sophisticated execution. Like if you're looking at swaps, it's like clips of 69 Sol, clips of 420 Sol, all the way up to like 580 Sol. So USD price, like, you know, roughly under 100K. Like I think like 98K was the largest swap I saw. But really interesting that they're just kind of going at it immediately and not really like thinking about it too much. Also, like, in your guys' opinion, is this the revenue share, or is this something different? Because I know that there's that like everyone is like rumoring that the 25% rev share, and in my mind, it's like rev share means, you know, here's like a slice of the money we're making. Buyback equals existing funds and buying your like from the open market. So I don't really know how you guys are defining that, but
well, isn't buyback? Well, buyback's still a form of value accrual. It's just.
But is it a revenue? Yeah. But like, is this the revenue share? Or is this something different?
I also assumed it was just a buyback, to be honest.
So you think it's like a one-time discretionary buyback, or like, what do you guys?
Yeah, let's shift 15 mil into the token one time.
Yeah, I think we don't have like enough details yet to say, and they haven't confirmed publicly, which I think would be great to understand like the broader intent here. Because to your question, Ian, like I don't know. Like I think the prevailing thought or like rumor mill was that some kind of 25% revenue share design, and I think maybe that was landed on being a buyback and a discretionary one at that. So this could be exactly that. But it's like we have just this, you know, past 2 hours of activity, so we don't really have enough like data points to extrapolate. You know, this is clearly not their revenue share for the past day, right? It's like this is a large shoving into the market. Would be like probably weeks worth, if not more, of a 25% rev share from the app.
Yeah,
You think they're doing past? They're like, oh, sorry.
They're doing 500K
last year.
They're doing 500K a day right now over the past few weeks. So yeah, I mean, it would have to at least be weeks if you're only taking a quarter of that and shoving it into the token to get to like 7 million bought in one day. It would be a few.
Tolks, what do you think? I've seen some takes on people saying, why would I buy Sol now? Including my take. Do you think this is a fair take?
I know that's your take. Yeah, you're just gonna tweet the hype Sol chart over and over and over. But no, I mean, to Ian and Danny's point, like about just this buyback in general, like it's one of the major benefits of obviously crypto and on chain and why we love it. Like when you see a transaction like this, but there's kind of like weird in between. Like we've had this type of scenario in the past where like, a team does something without, kind of officially announcing it and everybody kind of has to read in between the lines. Like it's not necessarily a new thing. So we'll wait to hear from the team. Obviously, I mean, you can look at the price chart from, the past, 2.5, 3 hours. Like the coin price definitely loves it. But as far as, kind of how you started describing the soul versus pump thing, like I think I think there's two different ways to separate it. One is kind of where I would align and kind of what I think the market thinks versus what I think is actuality. Like I've said, I think on a pod maybe 2 weeks ago, and to you at permissionless, like I think the launch of Pump is generally bearish soul in the short term, but I think that more on a basis of what I think the market thinks versus what reality is. It's kind of to me it like now that the stablecoin narrative with ETH has really popped up, like you can kind of poke holes in that, but like if the market believes it, that's kind of all you need. And to me, like Pump and Soul is similar in the sense that if you can buy Pump at 6.5 billion FDV compared to Soul at like 80, and the only thing that matters on Soul is meme coins, then like yeah, I see that. So like those narratives are kind of like I see that view. Um, do I particularly agree with it? Not necessarily. Like I think boiling down Sol to only a meme coin chain and even ETH to like only stable coins, like I think those are disservices to both of the assets. But again, like comparing it to ETH, like when ETH was so heavy for so long, like Sol's close to 100 billion now. Like that's a large asset. You know what I mean? Like it takes a lot to move that. So I think if you can, the market I think will convince itself that you can just buy Pump instead of Soul. That's kind of the belief I had going into this. Was personally underwater for a little bit, but we're back above water now, which is
Finally
nice.
break even.
Yeah, finally. So yeah, I think the market is going to think of it in the way that you described. Why buy Soul when you can buy Pump? And that's something that I outlined previous to launch. And again, like you can have personal opinions on whether that's right or wrong, but I think the market is going to treat it like that.
Carlos, what do you think?
I generally agree with that. Like, it depends on how you value Soul. Like, if you're valuing Soul just based on REV, like the majority of like revenue that Soul token holders make just comes from contentious transactions and trading activity. And if you look at the highest revenue generating applications on Solana, that's generally like trading focused applications like uh, Pump, Phantom, Axiom, whatever else there is. But I do think like Solana has more than that. If you look at DeFi over the past month, we had the launch of X stocks. You had private credit come on chain. Camino has surpassed $4 billion in deposits. So it's just a matter of where you pay attention, but definitely like just from a revenue generating standpoint, definitely the majority of activity is still like just in meme coins and trading activity.
Yeah, I think that's fair. How do you guys think about like I think the Soul to Pump question mark is a good one. Obviously, the other one is Bonk. With the recent like shift of activity, I mean, I've asked this question. We've talked about it before, but they're at actually they're at actually similar valuations.
This is Danny's third pump swap stream this week.
Yeah, we got to talk about it again. But the Bonk token and the Pump token are actually at similar. I guess for Pump it's market cap, not FDV, but similar valuations on a market cap basis today. And like technically I guess buyback going to Bonk right now would be relatively high given the amount of trading fees being generated on Bonk.fun. I think it maybe the big question there is like durability of these revenues. Like, do you guys think that Bonk can sustain this shift, or do you expect to see like a reversal back over to Pump?
Go ahead, Bach. Your hands.
Yes, he's got his hands up.
Yes. Speak freely.
May I speak freely? I
Yes.
am kind of. I'm not sure how. The thing is that I don't know how Bonk ended up incentivizing users to come on Let's Bonk, coin creators, not users, to come on Let's Bonk. So I can't be like, oh, this is how like Pump can get that activity back. Because in my mind, this was the same with Hyperliquid. Is whatever creators, like coin creators, market makers, etc., the people who are creating assets or bringing liquidity, they're interested in dumb flow so that they can make money on it. But dumb flow will only come if they're not getting like ruined on the platform, and if they're able to like at least compete or make money, or they can bet on interesting markets, whatever. So if like Pump.fun needs to incentivize those users such that creators come in and they can make money on these retail. So I don't know how it's going to work. I imagine they're going to do incentives. This is the thing that live streaming doesn't make a lot of sense to me about. Is like, if you are leaning into live streaming, that's very cool, but like a lot of these tokens aren't created through live streaming. They're created from like mass industrial farms. And I'm not sure if you can incentivize people to do a different thing when they're already doing one thing, and that's like the way that it works. Such that I don't. Do you know, like they earmarked? I think it's 3% for live streaming. Like I would have earmarked 5% for retail rewards. Like there's no airdrop as well, which I think is good that they didn't do one, because they can create some form of liquidity mining program or some incentive program for retail, or like whatever the users to use it. I'm just. Previously, I wasn't very concerned because I felt like Pump still had a lot of momentum, but this is probably the only time, because they're kind of out of chips a little bit. And I think that might be why I think it makes a lot of sense for them to do a buyback, because we know that when an asset goes up, the ecosystem gets more and more interesting. Like more people want to bet on it. Like even now, there's like 3 tokens that have launched due to the buybacks, and I imagine they do really well, volume wise, attention wise. I'm not gonna name them, but you know what I mean. So like, I guess long-winded way of saying, I'm not sure how they're gonna figure out users.
I mean, it all comes back to the slop industrial complex.
Stop.
How is the sausage made? We just don't know. I think that chart that you had was interesting, though, Danny, of like revenue by Launchpad. But I'd also be interested to kind of see, like, is all of that revenue coming from like a small subset of users? Like just like kind of getting more like granular with that as well. And like, were those the same people that were previously on Pump? Obviously, you can also just start using like different addresses and stuff, but I think that's kind of like an open question on my end.
Yeah, I'm pulling up another chart here to hit on this one that I think is pretty interesting. Volume originating from high frequency traders. So we can actually see like Radium and Bonk.fun. I guess maybe specifically Radium here has had a bit of a spike in the amount of their total volume that's been coming from higher frequency trading, like meme coin addresses, which I guess is pretty interesting. I don't have enough detail to say whether like specific addresses per se, like how much those guys are contributing to the activity, but we do see like from the trading applications, like Axiom has been a big one, and then all the trading bots. You can see the overall amount that's been flowing to Pump.fun since then. There was a big drop off when kind of Let's Bonk took over, and it's basically just like users that are using these apps are routing so much of the trading flow that you can see it have like a massive impact to the overall like dollar figure of traded volume on these launch pads.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
The other thing to call out, maybe just to the point of the activity, it's interesting that like while we see this shift in top token, like, you know, the slop industrial complex, you know, we know they're out there. It's interesting that this trend is just down, regardless of like this shift between Pump and Launch Lab or Radium Bonk.fun. It's still trending down despite that fact. I mean, maybe if you add these guys together, like that might look a little better, but both of those trends are headed down and to the right, which is very different from what we had seen kind of coming out of the uncertain time in the market back in March, April. Like we were on a significant uptrend heading into May, but we can see like these top slop token creators have been kind of tailing off their activity in recent months.
Yeah, I think I was kind of just thinking about this earlier today. I think there's a bit of a correlation with like upticks in slop trading, meme coin trading, all this stuff, and like winter months, like when people are just like inside more and they're just like there's not much to do, and that kind of always coincides as well with like markets seem to do well in like Q4. Maybe there's like a bit of a wealth effect there and stuff. So I mean, I think these summer months are maybe not the best ones to look at, especially right now, like kind of right in the middle of summer. But I think it will be really telling come fall and winter what the SIC is up to.
That's an interesting comment. Like, it's like a trend in TradFi, right? Like, you know, everyone goes out to their yacht, they head out to Montauk, they go sailing and swimming for the summer months, and maybe the trading volumes decline a little bit. It'd be interesting to see like the touch grass mentality reflected in the meme coin market, where I feel like I don't know, the people who are trading these, it feels like maybe that's less of a thing. You know, you're tapped in 24/7 online kind of culture, but you know, when it gets nice outside, maybe it prevails. Tokes, Carlos, any thoughts?
You guys haven't been on your yacht for the past month?
Are you out sailing right now for this call?
Yeah, I'm surprised the audio is working so well. No, I mean, I think it's interesting. I think Danny, you had a tweet over, I want to say this weekend, a few days ago, just kind of about the volume transfer of the launch pads, and like to me, it was kind of I don't know. I mean, Pump was always going to drop off a little bit just because there's some portion of capital, like we see it with perp dexes and clubs and other protocols that as soon as the coin is announced, like there's some amount of artificial volume. Who knows how much that is, but like it's instantly going to drop off because there's not farming incentives anymore. Whether there is going to be an airdrop or they're going to get rewarded for it, like there's some amount of volume on essentially all these protocols, that especially pre-token ones, that are playing for future incentives. And so I think it's kind of natural to see some of the pump volume fall off. I do think it was kind of interesting about just Bonk.fun like running up into the Pump.fun launch. I don't want to put on a tinfoil hat or anything, but like the timing of that, like was, it was pretty good. And I do think there's a case, like, for Bonk being valued right around the same with the metrics. I mean, it's like $1 million plus in revenue now, I think, for a couple weeks. So it's interesting in that aspect, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think Pump is going anywhere. I don't think meme coins are going anywhere. I think maybe the super high outcomes that we saw like back in the past 2 years and kind of peaked in January, like I do think maybe there's a little cap on that, but I think there's some speculative nature that even if Bitcoin is down for, God forbid, like a month or two or three straight, like I think there's still going to be this part of the market is never, in my opinion, like it's never going away. There's some amount of capital that wants to speculate on early stage things, whether it's meme coins or legit stuff, but it's going to be here no matter what the rest of the ecosystem is doing, and I don't think that's ever changing.
Yeah, I agree with Tolks. I also think that it's like you should be careful if you want to extrapolate like the last 2 weeks of data and say that Bonk.fun will take over Pump. I think it's just 2 weeks of data. Like, let's wait a month from now, 3 months of now, and let's look at the trend. um I think it's just too early to call like Bonk flipping Bump in Pump.fun in revenue. And I think like they're in a financial position where they can like defend their position quite well and pull the right levers like to take market share back.
Yeah, I think that's a good take. I think kind of analyzing them, I would agree there's like a little bit of a zoom out perspective that's required. I will say from the team though, I would hope that like from Elon and crew, and my expectation is that like they're, thinking about, their forward growth levers, but especially now that the token is out, um, my expectation or hope would be that they're like thinking of new ways to draw either users back or new users in. Obviously, I think live streaming is kind of part of that, right? They want content, they want like the social layer to come to the platform. I think they want like sort of like net new viewers or like users on the platform, maybe even that aren't even trading at first, right? But get them viewing content on platform or like in app, and then maybe you can convert those into paying or trading users over time, get them sucked into the casino.
Danny, why are we not on Pump.fun right now? we could be getting compensated for this.
That's a good point. We there's been discussions about it. If I speak, I prefer not to speak.
I prefer not to speak.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I think this is something that I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if other, notable like crypto groups, figures are like not considering this. Like certainly the incentive design there is really interesting.
Stream to earn.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting. I mean, the streaming, like I think that's the main vertical they would go for. I mean, you look at just, society and, the other, I mean, there's streams out there now that what's the one tech podcast that streams for like 2 hours every day?
Yeah, TVPN.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and podcasts in general, like, this trend has been going on for years now. And I think that the streaming aspect, like, I do think there's something to people, no matter what they're doing, no matter what they're working on, like, people have up, kind of like a side screen or their phone and it's on some type of stream. Like, I think that is the vertical that they want to tackle the most. I mean, it's to be determined. We'll see on what they can do to incentivize people there, but I would think that is kind of their main focus moving forward, just because it seems like even media in general, like it just kind of seems the way that they're going.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're definitely targeting like that LA vape cabal vibe to an extent. I think maybe one of those creators is on Pump now. We've seen Gainsey's on there. It is interesting to see. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Ansem started streaming on, what is that other platform? Time.fun. Time.fun rolled out like a streaming or like kind of content kind of capability for creators there. So it's interesting to see some competition there, even though like we're definitely very early stages. Like I feel like we definitely don't have like proven market fit for like these like crypto live streaming platforms, but either way, there's already like some competition over like kind of key crypto KOLs, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I think again, like that's one of the most interesting aspects, and I think it's more about maybe bringing some traditional like Web 2 type people into streaming on their platform versus going the KOL route. So I think that'll be something interesting to watch. But I mean, the competition, like Twitch and Kick, and I mean these platforms, they pay ludicrous amounts of money for the top streamers there. But it just goes back to the overall point of like why they're going down this route. Like the reward is, I mean, you can see it. You can see why somebody would want to attack this vertical, because the money to be made in it is, astronomical. And maybe that's why, people want to push back and argue about why they needed to raise this when, they've made so much from fees. But like, if you are trying to go compete with one of these traditional verticals, like you need a shit ton of capital, because these companies, they use a ton of capital to pay people, whether it's, disclosed or not. And if they want to go after the streaming vertical, like, you have to be well capitalized for that.
Yeah, I think that I agree with a lot of those points there. I think it's early stage. It's an experiment. I've been excited by the kind of like live streaming attempt. I think the biggest thing there is like just wanting to have like a native community. And maybe you'd say that the slop industrial complex is the native community, but there's clearly like more value to be had in having it, in the same way that there are a bunch of people on Twitter, and then Twitter can roll out like additional services and like value offerings to the people that spend all day scrolling on their phone. If you get people scrolling all day or watching all day on the Pump app or on the Pump website, then it's easier to get them gambling in the casino or trading on perps or whatever other like additional offering you might roll out in that platform. So I think like for them, it's try to find a way to take back and be like the front end and get users like on your platform, which is gonna be a tough ask given the dynamics today where a lot of people are trading, Pump tokens not on Pump, right? You trade from Phantom, you trade from Jupiter, you trade from trading bot wallets. I think they're gonna have to do like put in a ton of effort to like get people natively on their site.
Yeah, definitely. On Pump and the launch, what do you guys think about all the spot volume hype's done?
You have the numbers? Let's take a look at it.
Let me see. I'm on the interface now. It says 600 million in 24-hour volume. That's on the Pump, the same ticker there. I haven't looked at that's on the perps volume. I haven't looked at the spot. But yeah, go ahead.
But I don't really trust that this gate volume is completely accurate.
Why not? You got trust issues?
I am a little bit skeptical of Gate, that they would have the largest book depth on this asset. But CoinGecko is saying that they did 287 million 24-hour. Bybit, I think this is real. I think they did do 165 million. KuCoin seems real, 53 million. BitGet of 122 seems legitimate. And then it has the hyper liquid Pump USDC pair, but I'm not sure. Did they initiate a spot pair?
They did. Unit, I know Unit has.
So that one's done
spot trading.
200 million, but it has like worse book depth than any of the previous ones I've listed. Like the 2% depth plus 2% is like 50K, minus 2% like 75K. So that's pretty interesting.
I think the most interesting comparison is just Hyperliquid versus Solana DEX's volume on Pump. I don't know if we have that data.
Yeah, I'm looking now to see.
Like previously, I had the assumption that native asset issuance was like a competitive edge in the sense that if you launch a token on Solana, I would expect the majority of the on-chain volume to come like from Solana native DEXs, but this kind of like counteracts that thesis in the sense that Pump has seen a large portion of their volume come from Hyperliquid, even though it launched like natively on Solana. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I haven't seen the volume itself, but I was looking at Judo tips yesterday because I was kind of interested to see how those react there. Because if you correlate tips and like priority fees with like data that you guys provide on like types of volume by asset. One of the lower correlations was token projects, which I thought was interesting, and that seems to have played out here. Like yesterday, they only did, let's see, 10,000 SOL in tips, which is like no small amount, but it's like 1.7 million in tips, which is not too out of line with like what they've been doing across like the last 30 days, call it. Like it doesn't really show up on the chart in a meaningful way. So I think that's kind of interesting that that is not higher. So I think it kind of also tells you where a lot of people who pay tips, what they're usually trading is not like these token projects, but also like I think it's because like I don't know, like the latest shitter does not have people can like trading it across multiple venues like centralized exchanges or anything like this. So I think that's like it's like reasonable when you actually kind of think about it. But
yeah, I think it's a good call out. I'm looking at DEX markets for Pump.fun, and basically, if these numbers are correct, the or Gecko terminals pulling from Sol on-chain DEX pairs, you basically have like the top 10 pools are contributing on Solana are contributing an equivalent amount of 24-hour volume as the singular hyperliquid like unit spot pair, which I think is really interesting to both your points, Carlos and Ian. Like you would have maybe like in the past, I think you would have definitely expected like, okay, the thing launches on this chain, it's going to do the most volume there. Hyperliquid is kind of, I mean, I think probably the bigger consideration here is like if a lot of high volume users are on Hyperliquid and they hold assets there or they're trading other things there, if Pump gets listed, you know, and you've got 10 mil on the platform, like you're not going to pull it off to Solana because you don't need to.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is kind of crazy because I mean this is the largest crypto project token launch we've ever seen by far, and all of its price discovery then is taking place on a decentralized exchange, which is pretty cool, both from spot and perps. So Boccaccio would have loved to hear that. He'd be cheerleading right now.
I was thinking about that when I brought up this conversation. I was like, "It's a damn shame Boccaccio is gone already."
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's something definitely to monitor. I mean, it's another kind of tip of the cap to Hyperliquid, like the amount of spot volume that has taken place, and I mean, even on Pump launch, like you saw, um, such centralized exchanges kind of struggle and have some issues with the demand, and on chain was fine, and then if you combine that with HIP-3 and kind of the spot markets on Hyperliquid, like you don't have to pay the fees that some centralized exchanges, kind of demand to list tokens. Like we're starting to, I don't know, just kind of the vision that has been out there for years, like it's starting to really come together. And I think you can see it very well this week with Pump launch. And it's, personally, like I think it's awesome to see.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I feel like massive fumble for centralized venues for the sale at the very least, right? Like I think in the past you would have certainly expected to be able to get orders in to a centralized server for a sale, but to be basically like edged out by largely the on-chain sale venue for the Pump token was pretty interesting to see. I mean, what, like a large majority of the sale was filled on chain versus the centralized venues.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Soul handled it great. Everything was awesome there. But yeah, I mean, even like price discovery, like we kind of saw that on perps on a DEX before, it kind of foretold what the demand for the sale would be. And like even that in itself, like, this is stuff that we kind of dreamed about 5 years ago about happening. And, it's everything involved with this pump sale, like it's kind of everything is on chain and it's happening. It's pretty cool to see.
Turns out you can just do things. You can build a multi-billion-dollar business and then raise like $2 billion in cash. and then just buy back your own asset on chain with like 10 milli, and you can just, you know, rip in 420 SOL stacks into the chart and run it up after raising all that cash. Cool.
That sounds pretty sweet to me.
Probably feels so good to do that.
Imagine hitting the buy button. Imagine being the intern. They do still, this one address still has a couple million in SOL. I don't know if they intend to buy more, if they're going to sit around and kind of wait for another time to do so. Perhaps there's like a price execution piece of this and they don't want to buy.
I have to imagine things got kind of like difficult on their end for facilitating like consistent like 50K TWAPs every, or not even TWAP, 50K like market buys every like minute for an hour straight. I mean, also like it's still kind of in like price discovery. There was a lot of terms from what I've heard, differing terms for people that did various rounds of pump. So I think everything's kind of settling there. Yeah, Danny, it still has 19K SOL, so it's like 3.16 million in that wallet. So they might just turn the buy machine back on at any moment. Still no announcement from their team. I just checked their Twitter, so IDK.
I do think that's a benefit, like having it be a discretionary buyback versus continuous. At least in the immediate term for sure, like they can kind of choose theoretically can like sort of choose a little bit of a price floor for themselves. But also, you know, make sure that, you know, they don't have to be Sailor, right? They don't have to literally buy the top of the chart every single time they want to get into the market and buy back some of the tokens. So I think that's nice. The other part being just like from a strategy perspective, right? You can kind of work out how to handle funds like over a longer time period versus just like, yeah, we know that X% is just getting shipped into the chart. I don't know. I think it just opens up more operational flexibility, which is a nice thing. I will point out, I'm just going to pull up the chart, at least the on-chain Jupe Solana chart. We are like, they basically ran the thing up. You can see this candle here when they started buying. They basically ran the thing up like 10-20% in the span of like 2 hours. And now it's kind of playing around with this new support level, which was the resistance from kind of the first 2 days of trading. So who knows, maybe this is like new clear skies for Pump if it wants to break out up from here. It definitely seems like, you know, for the market at least, and knowing that the Pump team is going to buy back their asset with potentially unlimited size at any moment is that's certainly a nice feeling if you're like long.
I really want some Tom Lee TA on this chart.
I need an arrow straight up with question marks at the end of it.
I was liking what I was seeing when he posted that. That's good stuff.
There we go. Yeah, that's how you bull post the chart. You just draw an arrow straight up and then put some question marks up above it, and then it's just like, who knows what can happen? Maybe it just goes straight up.
There we go.
There you go. Right to 12 cents.
A good arrow.
Or right to 012. Yeah, that's where we're headed, folks. Not financial advice. No, just kidding. Yeah, I mean, I think the big question marks, big next steps. I think we need to hear from the team. Some confirmation. I think there's still some question marks here, like, and probably some question marks on this chart that I should have put next to the arrow of what these like buybacks are. If it's, you know, they're going to be doing some kind of like, you know, buyback over every, you know, every week or every month, or, you know, totally discretionary, up to them. But they'll like save a portion of the revenue for exactly that purpose. And particularly like how much of this, like if the rev share that was like sort of rumored was put into this buyback, if so, like, is this the past couple of weeks like built up? Like, is there a reason they wanted to ship in specifically like 7 million or so USD? Bunch of questions there. But hopefully they can clear up the intentions.
Yeah, Elon's just putting it back in the chart.
One
Nothing
marketing.
right here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
No,
definitely understands meme coin markets.
Yeah. No, I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, you don't have to give no financial advice on here, but I mean, I still remain pretty excited about Pump. I don't think any of us have mentioned that the ticker is also elite too, which which matters a little bit. Um, but yeah, I mean, what is it right outside top 50 now? Like I don't know. I mean, the first kind of general target for me was like 10 billion FTV, and we're what, like 40-ish% under that now. Um, but yeah, I mean, I remain pretty optimistic on that, and I do think, kind of what we talked about throughout the entire call was just kind of like what, the team has been silent since launch, and I think they have a, at least I hope so, that they have some things up their sleeve, whether it is, buybacks, kind of incentives for what they're doing. Like, they've kind of been quiet since launch, so I think that will be coming, ideally, today, tomorrow, this week as well. So I think there's a lot of positive news catalysts that can come for them too.
Yeah, I will say James Kristoff on prior streams. Good notification sounds. James Kristoff on a prior broadcast basically foretold that if Elon and co decided to turn on the buyback machine, you'd see the coin rip straight up, 50%, basically instantly. I think he was relatively on track there, right? Like they basically pushed the price up about 20% or so. And if this is like a clear intention here, then I think I would agree. Probably higher is on the cards, just based on that alone. If you have the bid from a team that has a massive amount of funds and is earning a ton of money, similar to what you've seen like with Hyperliquid. That, I mean, when that thing launched, it kind of walked up for a couple of weeks in a row. One, I think, maybe because the market wasn't thinking about it the right way at the start. But then two, you've got that kind of bid behind it as well. I do agree, Tokes. Like, I think the way that maybe I'm thinking about it is like, I think for a long time, one of the tokens that I would have liked to buy in this market was a pump token, and it didn't exist. And now it exists, and they still make a lot of money. They're committing to some amount of rev share or buyback, what have you. And the metrics still look good today, and they're shipping, and they have a ton of cash on hand to like go ahead and kind of tackle the future. So a lot of things look pretty good, at least in the immediate term. I think there's assets at higher valuations that I feel like you could certainly see a flipping happening.
What is the bear case for Pump? Because everyone's bull posting, but like I haven't seen many people like put the bear case.
I could give a bear case.
Run it.
Young team, tons of money. They could just kind of be like economically set for the rest of their life at this point, likely like for generations. So like I think there's a non-zero chance that they check out from that perspective. And again, I'm just like giving the bear case here, but we see a secular decline in meme coin trading overall. People stop actually trading these things. People move to a different platform. I think those are kind of the main ones. Also, like generally speaking, when everyone is like really hyped up about something, there's probably something that everyone's also missing. But at the same time, like, I think with all kind of crypto projects in general and the nature of being open source, I think things do kind of turn into like a capital game. So I think like anyone can like fork your protocol, and anyone can do like the exact same thing more or less. It's really just going to come down to like incentives and like what economic incentive do they have to stay there consistently. So I think like if they can establish a real financial moat, which I think they've kind of done with this raise. But then if they can get like the right moat, whether it be through these discretionary buybacks or other sort of value accrual mechanisms that ultimately align everyone via token price, I think things look pretty good for them. But I think those are kind of the immediate bear cases for Pump, of just like people stop trading meme coins, volumes die out, or people shift to another platform, or team checks out. Just given they've made hundreds of millions of dollars. So I think that's kind of the wall of where they need to climb.
Yeah, I think I'd add to it. Like, I think one of the really big bear cases for Pump, I think, and for a lot of these apps actually, is if you can't build some sort of like front end status, there can be value in being like kind of the back end infrastructure and like routing layer for things, but it's like a very different beast, I think, when it comes to these launch pads, as we've seen with like Bonk.fun and LaunchLab, like taking the slop industrial complex away from Pump for the time being, or at least a large chunk of it. That draws away a lot of the fees, because the end users that are on trading apps and on Phantom and what have you, like they're not really beholden to like buying a Pump token with whatever the ticker is. It doesn't necessarily have to end in the Pump lettering on the address. They want to bid the assets that are like viral. They want to bid the slop, whoever's making it. So I think there's almost like a question mark here of like, if Axiom can walk in and drop their own launch pad and bundle up all that stuff within their own platform, where a ton of the users and the flow is coming from today, do you kind of disintermediate the need to even have a Pump? And I think that's where they really need to like fight back and push and build out, a more compelling like trading experience and like other experiences within the platform to like get users kind of back natively and using them as a front end. Cool.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. I mean, I also think they raised a bunch of money in private round, like just to steel man the bear case. Like, what marginal dollar is left to buy them? I think that's also a question that should be out there. I mean, this has been kind of signaled to the market, and a lot of money raised privately too. So like, it's kind of been known and out there. And if every day that passes by that maybe it doesn't necessarily go up, like that's another day where people have known about this and known about the bull case, and maybe there's just not that many marginal dollars out there to put it higher. I think that can be a potential bear case too. Things tend to rip the hardest when nobody kind of expects what is, whether it's a token launch or a new coin. Those are kind of the things that tend to rip the hardest. And Pump has been, at least for a month or so, it's kind of been rumored. And the valuations have been clear. So everybody's kind of known and been on the same page there. So that can be a potential bear case too, just kind of the demand that can be there. And especially with the perps, like on early market, like I think the volume Hyperliquid did is awesome, and it's amazing to see like price discovery happen and perps before the token is live. But it also in a way kind of enables obviously people to hedge, but it also kind of enables the or disenables the kind of surprise aspect of things just launching and ripping. So that's another thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. This token launch a bit different than any in the past. Pre-markets have never really been this large, this liquid, or this highly traded. And it's also been a long time since we've had like an ICO of this size. I think you'd have to go way back, like maybe 2018 or 2019 for like an actual ICO with this amount of funds shoveled into it. Not like a VC sort of typical like round raising token. So definitely a bit of a shift there. Awesome. Well, I think we'll call it there. We don't want to continue speculating here on what the the Pump team are going to do with their additional funds, whether or not they'll buy more tokens or not. Hopefully, after we get out of here, maybe in the next 24 hours or next few days, we'll get some confirmations from the Pump team on the buybacks, on like their kind of broader intentions here. But I don't know. I feel like we laid out some of the bull bear cases here. Ton of cash. These guys are pretty ambitious. They were kind of ahead of the market, I think, in the meme coin game when basically the entirety of the market was saying for months and months that it was ephemeral, memes are dead, it's a zero. And then they went and ripped their protocol 10x higher in everybody's face. So yeah, I mean, it must feel amazing to raise like $1.5 billion and then go and buy back your token on chain in massive size. And hopefully they can keep being successful. I think we'll have to see from here. But thanks for coming on, guys. Tokes, Ian, Carlos, appreciate you hopping on late notice, last minute to chat. And yeah, I guess anyone have any last takeaways on Pump before we close it out?
No, I'm all good. I'm positioned for the token to go up, so I hope that's what the case is. So yes, you should go out and buy Pump, and that's financial advice.
Ian, any last thoughts on Slop or Pump?
No, I think we kind of covered everything. I think it's just kind of, watch how it plays out.
Beautiful. We'll leave it there. Carlos, I know you're upset centralized exchanges like I am. On-chain is the future. Pump's proving it. Hyperliquid is proving it. Yeah, get on-chain. Don't use centralized exchanges. But we will see you guys next time. Thanks all for hopping in and hanging out. Hopefully these Pump guys will keep bidding this shit up because, full disclosure, I do hold some Pump tokens. So I would like to see it go higher. See you guys.
Peace.